Patreon Q&A number 77. I want to thank all 127 of my overpowered patrons, guys. I can't thank you enough for all of your continued support. And to everyone else listening, there's going to be spoilers in these questions and answers, so tread carefully. Joseph K. asks, good afternoon, Shonen. USJ All Might versus Garou that fought Darkshine. All Might is unlikely to go through the freak out at the thought of losing, and although you said before you think Darkshine and All Might are fairly even, if All Might could launch Garou into the sky like USJ All Might, I have no clue how Garou would survive. Best wishes. Hey, you two, Joseph. So, I don't think it's unlikely that he would go through the quote-unquote freak out. If you're talking about him tapping into the Vestige's power, that's just something that All Might does. I mean, like I said, he's proven it before that this is just something that happens to him, as well as just a user of One for All. It's a part of the quirk. It's broken, and there is some plot device put into there, but there's also a lot of plot device put into Garou's powers and abilities and everything like that. So I'll just say on paper, without going into like endgame stuff of what would happen in the end of the fight, Garou would probably win because obviously he's extremely powerful at that point in the story. He's way more skilled and technical than All Might, and I think he could probably overcome it. But if we're talking about like what would happen at the end of the fight when they're both pushing each other to the absolute limit, either All Might is going to push Garou into Awakening because if Golden S could, then I think USJ All Might probably could, and then I don't think he'd be able to defeat Awakened Garou, but could USJ All Might tap into the Vestige's power, get the power up, and then launch him into the sky? Yeah, of course. Could Garou survive that? I think so. Would it defeat Garou? Yeah, I think so as well. But it's like, what would come first? The Vestige power up, or Garou going Awakened, or just matching All Might's power and just overcoming it and becoming more powerful? Because that's obviously one of Garou's abilities. Like I said, it's difficult to say the end game of this, but just on paper, Garou should win without taking any of that Deus Ex or just further power-up abilities into consideration. Bryan asks, hey Z-Dog, hope you enjoyed the UFC this weekend. That I did. I love the Saitama not breaking his limiter vids. I think that'd make for an awesome one-shot by one. Hey, that's a great idea. I'd like to see that. First question this week is, what do you think of the new game, and do you think they'll add a Season 2 update? So, I have mixed feelings on the game. I enjoyed my playthrough somewhat, but I don't like the story mode. I don't like that it's grinding, that you have to go through with it just to get to the end, and I don't like the fighting system all that much. It's fun to do the combos, and it's fun to see the characters use moves, but there's a lot of issues with the, actual combat and the, the things that go with it. I just wish it was made a little cleaner. And I'm not sure if they'll even care about doing a Season 2 update at this point, unless they already made it. Second question is, do you think a fight between Kuwabara, beginning of the show, and Spring Mustachio would look like? Tomboy versus Spirit Sword. Have a great week. Hey, you too, Bryan. So if you're talking about Kuwabara during the Genkai Pupil Tournament, because you're talking about the Spirit Sword, I think he would get wrecked by Spring Mustachio. Kuwabara is really rough around the edges at that point in the series, and Spring Mustachio is just way too skilled and competent for somebody like him at that point. Chance asks, hey, Shonen, do you think someone could have had Luffy's Devil Fruit in the past? Could they have been even maybe stronger, or maybe figured out how the gears to reach like Gear 5? Or maybe they didn't know how to use it and it was kind of useless. Just wanted to hear your opinion on it. Thanks. Have a good day. Hey, you too, Chance. So I think that all of the Devil Fruits have probably had previous users in the past. Given that Toki, who existed during the Void Century, obviously had the Time Fruit, I assume that, the fruits have been in circulation for like over 1,000 years at this point. And in that time, I'm sure they've all had users at least once or twice, including the Gumu Gumu Fruit. And I think that they probably thought it was useless because that's more or less what Luffy thought, or at least, I think it was Ace or somebody making fun of Luffy for taking the fruit because, it's not just a fruit that becomes overpowered as soon as you eat it. You have to figure out through training and everything how to use it, trial and error like Luffy did. So that being said, I don't think they probably tapped into the gears and stuff like that because it took Luffy intense training over the course of like 2 years under the tutelage of a hockey master to be able to figure out the gears and all of that stuff. So I think it's unlikely, and this is probably unique to Luffy. Cool Mitch 987 asks, hey Shonen, just want to say that it feels good to be a part of an army more powered than maybe the non-existent army of Blast robots. Hey, thanks, Cool Mitch. Speaking of Blast, do you think he'd still be S-Class Rank 1 without either his Esper or Strength abilities? In other words, do you think his Esper or physical abilities would each outclass Tatsumaki on their own? I think it's very possible that he could. I mean, obviously, we don't know if he does have physical strength like this. There's more evidence to support that he has the Esper abilities, of course. But, given that allegedly he has greater fighting abilities or skills than King, that probably means that he does. And if he could defeat all of the S-Class at once, in theory, then I think that type of power, just talking physicality, would probably be too much spirit or, that type of power dynamic that they get into when they're talking about, when Fubuki's talking about it, when Tatsumaki goes against Saitama. It would likely probably be too much for Tatsumaki, considering that it was difficult for her to bend Awakened Garou and Golden S in her weakened state. I assume that maybe his physical powers can overcome Tatsumaki if that is the case, and then I'm sure that he's way stronger than her as an Esper. I think that he probably taught her or coached her in her Esper abilities. Dashy Dash asks, hey man, hope you're doing well. Hey, I am Dashy. I hope you are too. I've been thinking about Metal Knight and the coincidence that he has in an ability, as his comments on Saitama makes me think that Metal Knight probably believes that he is above the rest of the S-Class. I know that all of the heroes have egos, but it's hard to imagine anyone realistically thinking they're above Tatsumaki. I'm sure that he has true firepower, will be godly once it appears, but how do you feel if he has a fail-safe measures for the S-Class heroes, such as an Esper disrupting technology to use against Tatsumaki? Thanks for your insight. These Q&A videos are the highlight of my week. Hey, thank you for the support, Dashy Dash. So I absolutely do think that Metal Knight has a fail-safe for all of the S-Class heroes, and I do think that he probably has some kind of Esper defeating device, whether it be some kind of mental incapacitating thing or just something that disrupts Espers in general. I think it's very likely that he has this, and I do think we'll very likely see all of the tools that he has to take down the S-Class, because that's pretty much what Metal Knight is all about. Like, he's keeping close tabs on the Hero Association. He built the foundation for them. And assuming that we've only seen, 5% of his actual arsenal, and given that he's very close with information and all of that stuff, I assume that he probably has something that could defeat somebody like Tatsumaki, as well as the rest of the S-Class, and I think we're going to see it. Dino W asks, hey Shonen, hope you had a good leap day. I ended up winning the first Jiu-Jitsu tournament. It was pretty cool. It was at Purple Belt, so it was pretty awesome feeling to be awarded the belt afterwards, but before my match, I actually listened to an old AMV of Garou vs. Metal Bat to get in the right headspace. So in honor of that, my first question, I want to know, what are your top 5 favorite Garou fights throughout the series? Hey, that's awesome, Dino W. You're pretty impressive. You're really good at Jiu-Jitsu. Purple Belt is no joke. I assume you're talking about gi. I'm more familiar with no gi, but still, congratulations, man. That's very impressive, and you should be proud. So here are my top 5 Garou fights. Maybe cliche, maybe not, but I think it's it's a pretty good list. As for my second question, I want to know where your top 5 favorite MCU superheroes and what are their rankings in the One Punch Man world. So they're pretty much all S-Class heroes easily. But these are my top 5, and just like with my Garou fights, maybe cliche, maybe not. I also wanted to mention that I've really been enjoying being a part of the Q&A with all of the other patrons. Thanks again for the awesome content, man. Hey, thank you, Dino, for your support as well. I appreciate that. Geruda asks, hey, Shonen, do you think Deku is going to train under Mirko next, considering how she's a beast with her kicks, etc.? So, in theory, that would be awesome, and how we saw how powerful she was with her kicks, and that how it works into Izuku's shoot style, but I'm really unsure where the series is going to go after this point. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if the series is going to end at the end of this arc, because Horikoshi was talking about ending it on volume 30, which is getting close to, and this arc might last until then. But then if we go into My Hero Shippuden, then it's possible that he could get trained by Mirko, but I doubt that Horikoshi still wants to go down the route with him kicking and the shoot style and all that stuff. I think we're past that, and I think if Izuku is going to get more training, it's probably going to be from his vestiges. He'll go into the One For All world and then train there possibly, because I think that it's very likely that Mirko might even die too. Goliath Xanatos asks, hey Shonen, my brother, hope you're having a fantastic time, and congrats on finishing the One Punch Man game during the stream. It's been an honor and pleasure to be a mod for the chat. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Hey, thank you, Xanatos. I appreciate all the time that you spent in those chats. It was fun, talking to you and interacting with you as well. Anyway, my question pertains to Saitama, especially Dream Saitama. If you thought the Dream Subterraneans, wouldn't Dream Saitama technically be stronger than regular Saitama, as if he actually had to fight his hardest against them and even bled for the first time, and only time we saw in the series? I understand that it's a dream, but it's still himself. I always wondered if it's intentional to have him bleed against his ideal opponent. So what do you think? Anyways, hope you enjoy life, man. Peace out. I hope you too, Xanatos. So I think he's probably the strong. He's just, I think that Dream Saitama is just as strong. He's using more effort there. If anyone is more powerful, it's definitely the Subterraneans, obviously. And considering how much effort that he has to do to take out to them and how much damage they're giving to him, I assume that they're all pretty much stronger than Meteoric Burst Boros at that point. I mean, not all of them, but once he gets underground, for sure, they're really ridiculously powerful, especially since they were making him bleed. So I think he was probably always just as strong as he was there. He's just using more effort typically. So I wouldn't say that Dream Saitama is stronger than regular Saitama. It's just the amount of effort that he's using against opponents who have strength that we haven't really seen yet in reality. Kata-Kun asks, hello, Shonen finally joined the Patreon after watching you for a few months now. I really enjoyed all of your content. So much that I've become a patron. Hey, thank you, Kata-Kun. I really appreciate that. So in a 1v1 battle, who wins? 100% Bakugo from Heroes Rising versus EC Xanatos. Honestly, I'm not really sure on that one. Hence why I'm asking. So I only really got to see that sequence once with Bakugo when I, first watched the movie. I haven't been able to find any other footage online yet because I do plan on making a video about 100% Bakugo. I really want to get into that. But for now, off of what I said, I would say that he probably can defeat EC Xanatos. His speed obviously seemed insane, just as fast as 100% Izuku, which is, I think, maybe faster than EC Xanatos. It's hard to say for sure, but it just appears to be faster. And his firepower, obviously, is ridiculous. He was, like, blowing through those rocks, melting them very easily. Now, EC Xanatos could probably do the same thing, but I think Bakugo could probably do it more consistently. And it just seems like I said, he's probably faster than EC Xanatos. Very difficult to say. Strength is probably just on par with EC Xanatos, too, maybe even more. I just think that Bakugo probably takes this one. He's just unfair at this point almost. Mellow asks, hey, Shonen, who would win in a fight between the big three of Class 1A Battle Royale style? So I would say probably Izuku. He seems like he's come the furthest of the three so far, while Todoroki has kind of fallen behind. Obviously, they're all super powerful, and I'm not saying they're all weak or anything, or one is significantly weaker than the other. I don't think that at all, but I just think Izuku could probably come out on top here. Todoroki would probably be the first to fall off, and then it would come down to the rematch between Bakugo and Izuku, and I think Izuku would probably win here. He just has more tools to win, and he just seems overall more powerful and more skilled at this point than the other two. Again, let me just emphasize, no chumps here. It would be super competitive, but Izuku will probably come out on top here. What is your favorite arc of My Hero so far? Definitely My Villain Academia. That is such a fun arc. Never really a boring moment, the whole entire thing. And I wish more battle manga did something like that, where they just focused on all of the villains in the series. Mr.Awsome asks, hey, Shonen, so first Mihawk came up and showed us how powerful a character the One Piece verse can be. Then Smoker and Crocodile introduced crazy new power in the Logia fruits. Then we got the Skypiea and Eneru had some insane power too. Then we were introduced to the Admirals, and they completely outclassed what we knew as power. And then the final big jump, in my opinion, was Whitebeard's feats in the War of the Best. So my question is, do you think something like this will ever happen again? Where we see the Straw Hats are so out of their league that they barely compare, or do you think the crew has at least scratched the surface of the highest echelon of One Piece power? So we actually have jumped again after Whitebeard, because when friggin' Kaido, he one-shotted Gear 4th Luffy. I think that was the next big leap that we're talking about here. And that was showing that they're out of their league. And they don't compare, because Luffy, at the peak of his power, pretty much got one-shotted by Kaido, who was just in his base form. Wasn't even in his hybrid Zoan form. So I think that right there. And if we're talking like after that, like I think Luffy is eventually going to defeat Kaido one way or another, where with the Deus Ex power up or with the help of somebody else. After that, I think the next big echelon that you're talking about here is going to be Shanks. Once we see Shanks at full power, that's going to blow everything else out of the water. Next question. If you were going to fill out a D&D morality chart for the One Punch Man, who would you put in each slot? So here I have it right here, and I think it's pretty accurate, actually. Steven asks, Makora, dude. Who do you think we would rather see adapt a parody of Spider-Man symbiote storyline? My Hero, One Punch Man, Take It Easy, Man. Hey, you too, Steven. So I think it would be interesting for both of these series to adapt that, but if I had to pick one, it would be One Punch Man, because I'd like to see one of the S-Class heroes overcome with a symbiote, which would just be a monster in this storyline, and then we would just see one of the heroes like become dark. And I think that would be way more interesting to happen in One Punch Man than it would to be in My Hero, since the S-Class heroes are more mysterious and need more adaptability or more development than the ones in the My Hero storyline. Tempest asks, hey, Shonen, alright, weird question today is if I have no clue or even on how this would be Metal Knight's full arsenal versus real-world militaries, first round with super weapons, whatever Metal Knight's trump card will be, and nukes, second round without those. Just something I thought on a walk, oddly enough. Sorry for the weird question. Hope you have an absolutely fantastic week and keep up the great work. Hey, you two, Tempest. Not a weird question. I think Metal Knight's probably too much for the real-world military, considering that he has at least 100 of those robots which can shoot those insane missiles, which can probably level portions of cities, maybe a full city, or, you know, hard to say for sure. We've only seen really go against Elder Centipede and that Meteor. But I'm thinking that real-world military is probably not enough to deal with the full potential of Metal Knight. Now, obviously, real-world military is extremely powerful. You have those hypersonic jets and all of that stuff, and crazy ballistic missiles and nukes and all of that. But, you know, we're talking about somebody with mechs and crazy stuff like that. We haven't even scratched the surface with Metal Knight. So, nukes aside, I would say that Metal Knight is probably too much for the real-world militaries. Tetsucabruh asks, how would Hero Hunter Garou do versus Muscular? Would it be a repeat of him versus Tank Top Master? Not even a repeat. I think he would just wreck Muscular. Muscular is, I don't think, as strong as Tank Top Master. Close, but less skilled. And Hero Hunter Garou would just massacre him. Also, how would he do against the current top 5 heroes in My Hero? So I think he would be competitive against Mirko, would probably be able to defeat her, maybe. I don't think he would stand a chance against Endeavor. He's not durable enough to take on somebody like that yet. Hawks would give him a lot of issues, and Hawks might be able to win. He might be faster than him, and it would be extremely difficult to deal with his aerial combat. Then we've got Crust, who I'm just going to fill in for Best Genus. Unknown about Crust right now. We don't know his durability and stuff like that yet. We've only just begun to see his quirk. Best Genus he could probably overcome. Hard to say for Edge Shot because, I mean, he is super fast, but maybe Garou could overcome him too. Water Bottle asks, hi Shonen, how powerful do you think a Protera fusion between Bang and Bomb would be? I think it'd be at least as strong as Awakened Garou, if not even stronger. I picture a fight between those two would go about the same way as Vegito versus Boo did, but I'd like to hear your thoughts. So, there's like a discrepancy in the power-up that we get between Protera in Z and Super. And then I think one of the Kanzenshus said the multiplier was like ×2 or something like that. I don't know. It's pretty obviously outrageously powerful, considering that Goku and Vegeta individually had no chance against Super Boo, but when they became Vegito, there was like a night and day difference between their power. So would the same thing happen between Bang and Bomb? Maybe, maybe not. I mean, if we're talking about like how Goku and Vegeta went to Vegito, then we'd see like meteoric burst Boros levels of strength from Bang and Bomb fusing here. But if it was like Super, then we'd see like released Boros maybe. So yeah, maybe they could defeat Awakened Garou if they were to fuse. Probably. It is pretty outrageous how powerful we become from the Protera fusion, so I'll say that they could probably get the job done here. Zapphod B asks, what do you think would happen if Second Gar got Dr. Genus to help him get a new arm? I think it would be awesome. But I mean, if we're talking about Dr. Genus, it would be cool if he gave him like an enhanced mutated arm, so he had like some kind of Resident Evil things going on. It made Second Gar more powerful. That would be cool. But I think it's very unlikely that he's going to get Dr. Genus to help him. It's more likely that he's probably going to get Metal Knight or Child Emperor or somebody like that to give him a robotic arm. But, man, I would love to see Second Gar get some kind of, like, mutated arm, and then he can, like, become a hero himself, or just more effective against going against monsters with the help of Dr. Genus. That would be awesome. Does Food Battler have super luck? It seemed like when he evaded Neon's claws. Thanks, Big Z8. Thank you, Zapod. I don't think he has super luck. I think that was more just so, like, a funny coincidence. We would need way more evidence to support Food Battler having an ability like that, which in the future maybe we'll see it, but I don't think that's the case at all. It was more so just luck in general, not so much like a supernatural ability that King has. So that's pretty much it for the video today, guys. Once again, I want to thank all 127 of my amazingly overpowered patrons. Guys, thank you so much for the continued support. Honestly, it means the world to me. And if you would like to be in next week's Q&A, please check out my Patreon. The $5 tier will give you access to this video. And if you haven't already, please subscribe as well. Have a great day. I'll see you in the next one.